My cold female boss asked me to help her escape her wedding as her assistant. I could only follow her orders, but the night before I drank too much and forgot about it. So on the wedding day, I watched helplessly as she ran away holding the bridesmaid's hand. I had just returned home when I found Sophia standing at my doorstep. She looked utterly exhausted, her eyes empty and confused. Miss Evans, what happened at the wedding? How did you? I quickly stood up, looking at her in surprise. Sophia stared at me, suddenly stepping closer. Ethan, let me ask you, why didn't you come to stop the wedding? I was stunned, at a loss for words. Today was supposed to be the joyous day when my boss, the talented writer Miss Sophia Evans, married her childhood friend Mr. William White. As her personal assistant, I was late when I hurriedly arrived at the church. Sophia was being led down the aisle by William. She was wearing a pure white wedding dress, all in white like a blooming lily, but on her usually cold face there was not a hint of a smile now amidst the blessings from all around. Sophia and William walked to the priest. The priest was reciting the sacred vows loudly, but Sophia's gaze was always looking blankly into the distance. Suddenly she turned her head and our eyes met. At that moment I seemed to see questioning and resentment in her eyes. My heart trembled and I hurriedly looked away. The wedding proceeded to the exchange of rings. William took the ring about to put it on Sophia's finger, but Sophia just stared blankly at the diamond ring, not moving for a long time. Murmurs gradually arose from the crowd, just as the priest looked at Sophia in confusion. She suddenly grabbed the bridesmaid's hand and ran off the stage. The crowd gasped and the bridesmaid looked bewildered, but Sophia didn't look back, ignoring the discussions behind her and fled alone towards the door. Me? Sophia ran away from the wedding, and with the bridesmaid. Oh my God, could it be the talented female writer's forbidden love? No way, the bride and groom seemed fine just now. People discussed in hushed tones the scene in chaos. William stood expressionlessly on the stage, showing no reaction. I knew that as Sophia's assistant I should do something at this moment, but before I could think further I was stopped by a guest who questioned me about the cause and effect of this incident. It wasn't until dusk fell and the guests dispersed that I was able to get away. 3 days ago, Sophia called me to her study. She was wearing a beige long dress, sitting upright at her desk. Her slender fingers unconsciously tapped on the desk, her brows slightly furrowed. Ethan, I'm getting married this weekend, so I want you to find a way to ruin this wedding. Sophia spoke slowly, her tone indifferent. I was very surprised, but Ms. Evans, this is your and Mr. White's big day, don't you want? Ethan, she interrupted me sharply. I've said it, I don't want to get married, you just do as I say. I stood there stunned, completely at a loss. Sophia had always been willful, but this level of unreasonableness was unprecedented. I opened my mouth, but in the end I didn't dare to defy her wishes. I understand, I'll find a way to help you escape the wedding on the day, I said, lowering my eyes. Hearing this, Sophia's expression eased slightly. She nodded, returning to her usual cold and distant demeanor. Go then, I am leaving this to you. Who would have thought that fate seemed to be against me that night? I accompanied colleagues to celebrate a new book, and after several rounds of drinks I accidentally blacked out. When I woke up the next day, the wedding had completely slipped my mind. It wasn't until today, when I personally witnessed Sophia fleeing the church in panic, that I belatedly realized what had happened. I am sorry, Miss Evans, I was careless. I avoided Sophia's gaze, guiltily stammering an apology, feeling increasingly uneasy. No wonder she came to confront me late at night. I guess running away with the bridesmaid was just a temporary measure. I'm sorry, Miss Evans, I was careless. I apologized sincerely. You think a simple sorry is enough? Sophia's face was cold, her demeanor intimidating. I laughed awkwardly, blurting out, why don't you just fire me then? Only after saying it did I realize my mistake. Sophia stared at me, her eyes dark and unreadable.